this match on video.
Awesome.
Can we get some lights?
Oh, yeah, of course.
If we open the windows here, the glare is...
Steven wants to be well lighted.
There you go. You get some lights too, Jerry.
Thanks.
Good morning, Isaac.
Let's get these.
Sorry?
Be ready. Be ready.
Okay, so let's do some rules.
Oh, shit. Alright. Alright. Your retrospectation about seasons. You guys have like...
They say some real gray.
Sorry, I forget. Isaac, right? Okay, very good.
Can we buzzer check stuff?
Absolutely. 1, 3, 4, 5, 3, 2, 1. Okay, both teams ready?
Yep.
Toss of 1. The coalescence of grain boundaries during industrial deposition processes contributes to the intrinsic value of this quantity in a thin film, which can be calculated by the substrate curvature method using the Stoney equation. The value of this quantity in an isotropic material is considered in the Truska criterion. By defining a plane whose normal vectors make equal angles of all three principal axes, one can define an octahedral value of this quantity, which is proportional to its J2 invariant. This non-dimensionless quantity can be broken into a hydrostatic component and a deviatoric component.
Stress.
In bonus, after being trapped on Marooner's Rock, this character declares to die will be an awfully big adventure. In Chapter 8, The Mermaid's Lagoon, for 10 points each, name this character was first introduced in a section from the novel The Little White Bird that describes his origin story in Kensington Gardens.
Oh, what do you think?
Nemo. Peter Pan
Oh.
is the most famous creation of this Scottish author of the Admirable Crichton. Stella Bradshaw participates in a performance of Peter Pan in this author's novel, An Awfully Big Adventure. This British author won Whitbread prizes for Injury Time and Every Man for Himself, and shortlisted for the Booker 5 times.
Maybe Bang.
What do you got?
Banks.
It's Barrel Bainbridge. Yeah, it's 10 points. Toss up 2. As retribution for this event, Edgeworth Usher was murdered on the front steps of his home at Milford Lodge by Benjamin Lett. The chant to remember this event was a rallying cry for William Johnston, who became a cause célèbre when he locked himself in jail after several juries refused to convict him. The doctrine that preemptive force is justified when someone is left with no choice of means and no moment for deliberation became a legal test for self-defense named for this event. A public funeral in front of the Eagle Hotel was given for a black stagecoach driver killed in this event named Amos Derby.
Carolina Fair?
That's nice.
Here's your bonus. The name for this effect, coined by Henry Landsberger, refers to a Western electric factory where the study was conducted to see if workers perform better in bright or dim light. The number each name this effect, which has individuals try to improve aspects of their behavior when they become aware that they are being observed.
Sounds
Okay.
Hawthorne.
Yeah. Several equity theories of motivation focus on helping workers attain this state, which is at the top of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's self-realizing and then reaching one's full potential.
Self-actualization.
Yes. This man worked with Elton Mayo on discovering the Hawthorne effect, but is best known for his Yankee City project, where he discovered 6 types of classes and 31 types of social cliques that operate in Newburyport, Massachusetts.
What was the name of the project? Yankees.
Like a bunch of social clowns.
Maybe like.
What do you got?
Raven.
It's William Lloyd Warner.
Could you speak up a little bit?
Yep. That was 20 points on the bonus. And here's toss up 3. A comic scene in this novel depicts a battle in a church graveyard in which a girl defeats a jealous mob by throwing skulls and swinging a human thigh bone. The main character of this novel is accosted by the novice highwayman Mr. Anderson, but is so moved by his tale of poverty that that's 10.
Nice.
Here's your bonus. In purple bacteria, electrons pass from the photosynthetic reaction center to this compound, which then passes them onto a quinone. 10 points each. Name this compound, which serves as the primary electron acceptor in photosystem 2. It is structurally equivalent to a chlorophyll molecule without a central metal cation.
P68.
P680.
No, it's pheophytin.
Shit.
A central metal cation in chlorophyll is an atom of this alkaline earth element.
Yeah.
Magnesium.
Yes. In purple bacteria, the reaction center is excited by a photon with this wavelength. Please give your answers in nanometers.
680.
I think it's probably not going to be either of those because it's purple bacteria.
Oh, so like
You got it.
400?
Yeah,
Go in the wrong direction. It's 870.
10.
Okay, 10 on the bonus.
Sorry about the
So 3, 4, 4. A thinker argued against the need hypothesis of this process by citing Garrison Keillor's description of a person threatened with being thrown out of a helicopter. Richard Schmidt wrote a 1990 article about the role of consciousness in this process, in which he argues that his noticing hypothesis implies that awareness is needed for this process to occur. The errors that occur during this process were analyzed by Pitt Porter. Michael Long developed the interaction theory of this process based on Stephen Krashen, who posited that this process is hampered by the affective filter caused by negative emotions like anxiety. Krashen's theory is called the monitor model of this process, which can result in a phenomenon called fossilization. This process can occur by five stages: pre-production or the silent period, early production, emergence, intermediate fluency, and advanced fluency. 1.
Language acquisition.
Prompt.
Second language.
Yes, good. That's 10 for you, and a bonus. The introduction to this book argues the greatest lesson of the reduction is the impossibility of a complete reduction. For 10 points each, name this book, which begins by attacking the Cartesian distinction between the mind and the body to argue that the body must be treated as a subject, not only an object. It also compares the body to in a world to a heart in an organism.
Anti-Oedipus, maybe.
Are you sure?
No.
No, it's phenomenology of perception.
That is the correct answer. This French philosopher used the work of Edmund Husserl as a starting point for the phenomenology of perception. Many of its conclusions are discussed later in The Visible and the Invisible. Merleau-Ponty's argument that the body and the world are interconnected appears in this essay from The Visible and the Invisible, which argues that a painter offers herself to the world to produce a painting.
It's not Suzanne Scout, but I don't know whether Suzanne Scout.
I and mine. I is what it is. Visual I.
pronouns. So 20.
Okay, you got 20 points. Next, toss-up. 2 recordings of this work made 23 years apart under John Bargeroli and Simon Rattle both feature Janet Baker as a figure who sings the line, "You cannot now cherish a wish which ought to be wished," in a duet with the tenor soloist. An F major melody marked Dolce e Legato opens the second section of this work, much of which is in 3/4 time. This work's score contains the instruction, "For one moment must every instrument exert its fullest force," at the end of an orchestral crescendo that follows a bass aria sung by the Angel of Agony. Various orchestral pieces. That's correct.
Nice.
Dream on Charontius.
English beside
Yeah, so yeah.
Here is your bonus. This man who infamously shouted at Hubert Humphrey for his position on Vietnam during the 1968 Democratic Convention was indicted during Watergate for taking a $10,000 bribe from milk producers, but was acquitted for 10 points each. Named as Secretary of the Treasury under Nixon, who removed the US dollar from the gold standard, prompting the Nixon shot. You got it. No, it's John Connolly. John Connolly Jr. was serving in this position when he was wounded during the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Its later holders included Dane Richards and Rick Barry.
Governor of Texas.
Indeed. During this controversy in 1952, Texas Governor Alan Shivers may have swung the election by convincing Dwight Eisenhower to pledge that the namesake region where oil had been discovered in 1938 would be returned from federal control back to the state of Texas.
I think, right?
Senate.
Like the LBJ Senate election where there's long recount. LBJ's.
What? No, that is
No,
not
that's a
right.
different thing.
This is called the Tidelands oil controversy.
Oh, that's a thing.
You got 20 points.
That's what that is.
10.
No, 10 points. You did not get
Tidelands. Like
Tidelands. Yes.
That's a.
Toss up 6. This document was written after James Gibbon wrote a letter stating that one should try to hold the hearts of the multitude by the bonds of love. It was largely drafted by Camilo Mazzella, who was the former dean of Woodstock College. The principle of subsidiarity was first discussed in this document, which introduced the concept but not the name of the preferential option through the Neo-Thomism of Luigi Taparelli. This document, which rejects the dissolution of private property, notes that the family is older than any state. It calls artificers' guilds and working men's unions the most important of historical excellent results, and rejects socialism and unfettered capitalism as options to the issue.
Oh, it's a
Your bonus. For temperance, each answer the following about the use of perfumes and other aromas during religious practice. Cologne is offered to mullahs during many Islamic customs, such as this observance, which commemorates the birth of Muhammad.
Oh, what's this thing called?
What do you got?
No.
It's called Maulid. A religious ceremony called Dup Sarvi, or the ceremony of the perfumes, is performed by some members of this religion. 3 members of this religion brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh to Jesus in Bethlehem.
They were magi.
They were Zoroastrians. Incense sticks are often used during the rituals in Hindu religion called by this term, which honor one or more gods. Food and drink are often sacrificed during these rituals. That is 10.
What does it say there's Zoroastrian?
Magi were like fire beasts.
Anyway, toss it. Shh. In one essay, this author discusses a fictional sunburn expert who determines whether someone's skin has a case of sunburn instead of sunnish burn. A piece in this author's volume, Subjective, Intersubjective, Objective, titled Knowing One's Own Mind, introduced a construct whose definition of Davidson? That's not
Good job.
Nice.
Your bonus. Oliver Messiaen listed this scale as the second of his modes of limited transposition. For temperate each name this scale form by starting on the first degree and ascending on alternating half steps and whole steps, or vice versa.
Wait, alternating half steps and whole steps?
Yes.
Pentatonic?
Octotonic. Peter van der Toorn and others have argued that the octotonic scale is the basis for multiple passages in this Stravinsky ballet, which ends with the sacrifice of a chosen girl, whose premiere was marked by audience at rest. The octotonic scale was sometimes jokingly called the Rimsky scale because Rimsky-Korsakov used it so much, especially in this symphonic poem, later adapted into an opera about a gusli player who leaves his home in Novgorod. 20. No, 10. No, 20. 20. Man, I'm sorry. It's like, it's a rough morning. All right, toss it. An author from this movement wrote a novel partly set in locations like Satanopolis and the Grand Hotel Metaphysics that includes a Chinese kraken as a character. That novel from this movement, Tenderenda, includes a poem beginning Joli Fanto Bambla O Fali Bambla Grossi Fa Habla Horum, which was meant to show the equilibrium of the vowels. A manifesto from this movement to put out a manifesto, you must want ABC to fulminate against.
Yeah.
No.
I was gonna neg with it.
Sounds exactly
You must want ABC to fulminate against 1, 2, 3. An author from this movement would often dress up as a Cubist bishop and perform his sound poetry such as Karawane. The story from this movement ends with the repeated lines, "Go lie down." This will end with a lovely marriage, and then I that up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right.
Hugo Ball's.
Hugo Ball.
That was from the cast.
Here's your bonus. A particularly lyrical passage in this story describes 2 ocean waves somersaulting and arcing their backs so beautifully, showing wet veins in the green and black. For temporary teach. Name the story in which the narrator awakens on his 21st birthday after imagining that he's in a movie theater watching his parents' courtship.
And dreams begin responsibilities.
That's right. The Dreams Begin Responsibilities was written by this dedicatee of John Berryman. John Berryman's His Toy, His Dream, His Rest. This author of In the Naked Bed in Plato's Cave was the basis of the title character of Saul Bellows' Shorts. In Dreams Begin Responsibilities describes the narrator's parents going on a date at the boardwalk in this New York City location, though the mother disdains its amusement parks. Lawrence Ferlinghetti wrote a poetry collection titled This Place called The Mine. 30. Nice. Task 9. A book named for this city, thought to be authored by Juliana Berners, contains 3 essays on hawking, hunting, and heraldry, and was printed in color in 1486. During a battle at this city, one side camped behind ramparts at Tonman Ditch, and Thomas Clifford died during a rear attack near Cross Keys, defending this town's barricades. One force made a stand in this city at Beecham Bottom Dyke, an ancient earthwork, while the opposing monarch reportedly spent the whole battle singing under a tree.
was Tewksbury.
That's fine.
Was it correct?
It's not.
Minus one.
Should have just
Spent the whole battle singing under a tree, talking to himself. The death of Edmund Beaufort, Duke of Somerset, at this site led to a tense 4-year peace, after which the battles of Blore Heath and Ludford Bridge broke out. The second battle at this site occurred a few days after the Battle of Mortimer's Cross and saw Margaret of Anjou successfully capture her husband Henry VI. 10 points named the site of 2 battles during the Wars of the Roses, including the First Battle of the War. Okay.
It's scheduled that
I was there.
The foremost early leader of this faction was Jacob of Mies, who preached at the University of Prague that the laity should receive the Eucharist in both bread and wine. For him, which each named this moderate faction that maintained amicable relations with the Roman Catholic Church and emerged victorious over the rivals at the Battle of Lipany during the Hussite Wars.
Moravians, Neo-Moravians.
Sure. Moravians.
No, it's the Utraquists. After Jan Žižka died and Prokop the Great took leadership of the Taborites, their faction took this name, initially called the Lesser Taborites. Starting in 1424, Ambrose of Kradek and the priest Prokop the Lesser led this faction of radical Hussites in Bohemia.
This is the hard part. I don't think we know.
It is the hard part.
Go ahead.
Okay, they're called the Orphans. All Protestant sects were outlawed in Bohemia after this 1620 battle, named for a raised hill near Prague early in the 30 Years' War, where Christian of Anhalt was defeated by the Catholic League.
Sure.
Why not?
Yeah.
Slip that up.
10 points. Toss of 10. The Wilson Divini software package models these systems and allows them to incorporate the reflection effect, limb darkening, and tidal effects into them. The currently unexplained O'Connell effect is the name given to the phenomenon of the maxima of the system's brightness clumping together on a visual diagram. Carlo Shapley proved that the Cepheids were not actually this kind of system, since the Cepheid separation distance would have to be smaller than their individual sizes. Their light curves feature periodic dips.
eclipsing binaries.
That's 10.
Yeah, it's I was thinking that.
Kind of binary. Which kind? Here's your bonus. The Sommerfeld expansion is used to calculate the chemical potential and other properties of Fermi gases with this property. For each named this property, which appears in ultra-cold Fermi gases when the temperature is very small compared to the Fermi temperature.
Property.
Collapsing, just condensation.
What you got?
Paramagnetism.
Degeneracy.
Yeah.
Ultra-cold Fermi and Bose gases are often studied with this type of trap, which is named for the shape of the potential formed by the electromagnetic fields.
No, it's the shape of the potential. It's named for that. It could be like a square or something.
You got
Penny.
square. Harmonic trap. In the classical limit, the distribution function of a Fermi gas changes from the Fermi-Dirac distribution to one named for Boltzmann, and this scientist was Morris gases thermal equilibrium. Okay, at the half, I have a score of Stanford 175, Yale 65.
You really should have gone with the albums.
Okay,
Great.
here's toss-up 11. A figure who was named for this substance was once left on a block of ice by his mother to abandon it, but a group of birds saved it by using their warm feathers. That culture hero who brought this substance to mankind had an original name of Qi, or Qi perhaps, meaning the abandoned, and was born after Jiang Yuan was impregnated by stepping into the giant footprint of Shang Di. In another story, when Kang Jie invented writing, it was said that this substance fell from the sky like rain from heaven. A lord of it named Hu Ji is believed to have founded the Zhou dynasty. An episode named for this foodstuff ends with a character being told, "This is the way of all flesh," after imagining that he has passed his civil service exam.
Millet?
That's right.
The yellow millet tree. Good job.
Okay.
I love millet.
Really good.
All right, here you go. The statute of frauds requires certain types of these entities to be in writing, such as ones that transfer an interest in real estate for 10 points each. Name this term, which describes a legal agreement between two parties, which occurs when there is an offer and acceptance and good consideration.
Contract.
This scholar, who wrote the book The Morality of Law and the article The Case of the Spelunkian Explorers, wrote extensively on the consideration and form of contracts. He also got into a 1958 debate with H.L.A. Hart, where he defended natural law. No, it's Lon Fuller. This food-based metaphor is used in law to describe a small nominal payment that is solely designed to satisfy the requirement of being good consideration for a contract. The English case of Chapel v. Nestle held that this food item is still good consideration, even if the person who receives it doesn't like it.
Something about cake.
Box of
Uh,
slice it.
What do you got?
Apple.
It's called a peppercorn.
What? It makes
Yeah,
sense.
10 points.
What the hell? I did the contracts class. Never heard about that.
Peppercorns.
Take it up with, probably. No, probably 9, actually. Toss of 12. One of this choreographer's later works features 6 couples dancing to the music of Beethoven's 7th Symphony. This choreographer collaborated with the lighting designer Jennifer Tipton and Jerome Robbins on Brahms/Handel. For every performance of one ballet by this choreographer, 6 street kids sprayed graffiti as the dancers performed songs arranged by David Horowitz. This artist shocked the dance world by being the first to combine jazz songs with dance in her piece 8 Jelly Rolls. The Joffrey Ballet commissioned this choreographer to set music by the Beach Boys in her ballet.
Okay, it's gonna be 12 hours.
After climbing Monte Gennaro, this character meets a woman who has prickly chestnut shells attached to her hair, called the Queen of the Mountains. For 10 points each, name this character a friend of Louis the Cruel, who is obsessed with Tufu. In the novella, this resident of Castagneta imagines that his obituary will read, "Died on the 16th of this month." Bring it. Mrs. Klingzor.
Oh.
Klingzor is a member of this profession in Hermann Hesse's Klingzor's Last Summer. A Dutch member of this profession is the subject of Irving Stone's Lust for Life.
Wait, is it, I think it's right.
Writer.
It's a painter.
Oh.
Klingzor, though fond of Chinese culture, lives in this country. A writer from this country wrote of a painter who struggles to make a living in his novel Green Henry.
Oh, it's Switzerland.
It is.
Okay. I just did it.
10 on the sentence.
13. The classic culture that shares its name with this modern city includes the site of El Tahin, home to the Pyramid of the Niches. Just to the north of this city is a site featuring 3 ceremonial stone rings beneath its Great Pyramid, perhaps used to predict eclipses by Totonac priests. South of this modern city, the Tuxtla Mountains were the site of the late formative culture at Tres Zapotes. This city was attacked by the Blue Jackets, a force commanded by Frank Friday Fletcher, in response to the Ipiranga incident.
Is it Veracruz?
Oh, Veracruz culture.
This functional group, which contains no heteroatoms, contains a single sp hybridized carbon atom in between 2 sp2 hybridized carbons for temperance each. Name the specific type of functional group which is less stable than the related isolated and conjugated types.
Like,
It's like a diene that's
What do you got?
tridiene.
No, it's called an alene.
Oh.
Allenes are an example of this type of functional group, which serves as the electron-rich reactant in the Diels-Alder reaction.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. Pretty sure diene.
No, it's just a diene.
Oh,
A common inverse electron demand Aza-Diels-Alder reaction uses these compounds, which are aromatic heterocycles containing 4 nitrogens. What do you got?
Cubane.
Tetrazenes. You get nothing. All right, toss 14. Gilles Leroy won a Prix Goncourt for his novel about this author, who was visited in Nashville by the male protagonist, and Tennessee Williams closed for a summer hotel. Articles by this author, including The Changing Beauty of Park Avenue and Paint and Powder, were, according to Matthew Brucoli's Some Sort of Epic Grandeur, often published only under a shared byline. This author's sub-late 20s obsession with ballet, her affair with the pilot Edouard Jozan on the French Riviera, and her...
It's Zelda Fitzgerald.
Nice.
oh man, you guys have read that biography I picked up yesterday for.
Here is your bonus. This artist created the circular ceiling mural of the Apotheosis of Saint Genevieve for the dome of the Pantheon for 10 points each. Named the student of Jacques-Louis David, who made his name with the 1804 painting Bonaparte visiting the plague stricken in Jaffa. He also painted Napoleon on horseback at the Battle of Aboukir and Eylau. Yeah. Bonaparte visiting the plague stricken in Jaffa can be found in this French art museum, which also houses Da Vinci's Madonna of the Rocks and the Venus de Milo. Gross's other depictions of Napoleon include one of him planting a flag on a bridge during this battle. A Vernet painting depicting this battle shows Napoleon waving his battered tricolor and leading troops across the same bridge.
Okay, so next thing, wait a minute.
Got waters.
No, it's
What up?
the Nile.
The Battle of Arcole.
Was it a 10?
That's
It's the
20.
Pont
20.
d'Arcole.
Okay.
Toss of 15. The NucleSense EasyMat device is used to accomplish this task, whose products are usually stored in a mixture of 10 millimolar tris and 1 millimolar EDTA. This task can be accomplished using an anion exchange resin containing diethylamino ethanol groups or via spin columns manufactured by the company Kiagen.
So like DNA purification?
Yeah. They did those things.
Nice buzz. Your bonus. This king, whose Arabic name refers to his curly hair, seized the port city of Mukawan and massacred a group of Monophysite Christians in Najran around 522 CE. Named this Jewish warlord who also attacked merchants in Yemen, forcing them to flee back to the Byzantine court of Justin I. He allegedly committed a magnificent suicide by riding his horse into the Red Sea.
Nuwas is one of his names. All Nuwas?
No, it's Dunawas.
Dunuwas.
I need both of those forms. Yeah. Dunawas considered himself an heir to this kingdom, which conquered the Sabaean kingdom around 280 CE and set up its capital at Zafar near modern Sana'a in Yemen. Its ruler Karibael had friendly relations with the West. That's right.
Nice.
This kingdom deposed Dunawas and put a puppet ruler in his place. Frumentius introduced Christianity to this kingdom, which ruled Ethiopia for 109 years. That is 20 points. All right.
Hey, we have a score check.
Indeed. At the 3/4 mark, I have 195 Stanford, 155 Yale. Okay. Close game. Toss-up 16. During warfare, local tribes on this island hid their women on a certain hill, but after they returned one day to get them and found only red plants symbolizing blood, that area was dubbed the Forbidden Plateau. The natives of this island surrendered their land by the Douglas Treaties, named for the governor who set up a base here at Esquimalt. This island, once named in honor of one Bodega y Quadra, is home to the Upper Triassic Carmoutzen Formation, which creates the insular mountain range, and its highest peak, the Golden Hind. The construction of Fort Camuson on this island occurred after 3 conventions here resolved the Nootka crisis. This island, home to Royal Roads University, sits to the west of the Discovery Islands and is separated from the mainland by the Strait of Georgia. For 10 points, name this island north of the Juan de Fuca Strait. That's 2 over here.
Victoria Islands?
That is incorrect. Then this island north of the Juan de Fuca Strait, which shares its name with the largest city in British Columbia.
Vancouver.
It is Vancouver.
Victoria is on the island.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Your bonus. Herodotus claims that the ruler of Scythia was one of these figures, and that Heracles slept with her because she stole the cattle of Geryon from him for 10 points each. Name these creatures, which are generally depicted as female serpents with human-like features. Sybaris was one of these creatures who terrorized those of Delphi, at least until Euryborus tossed her off her cliff and killed her.
Are they just called echidnas?
They are not. They're called Dracaena. Another Dracaena, Campe, was killed by Zeus during this conflict so that he could release the Cyclops and have them forge weapons to overthrow Cronus.
Titanima.
Yes. This deity sent the Dracaena Poena to terrorize the Argives for killing Linus, his child. The song of praise Paeon is derived from an epithet of this deity and originally referred to songs that specifically praised him.
Yeah. Apollo.
Yeah. You got 20. 225. Toss 'em. This process is commonly performed in industry using a falling film or forced circulation devices. An inert gas is applied directly to the surface of the sample in the blowdown form of this process. A rule of thumb used in one form of this process is to set 3 components of the device to 20, 40, and 60 degrees Celsius. In industry, the product of this process is often fed into the utility stream for the next stage of this process, a phenomenon called the multiple effect form of this process. Centrifugal devices for performing this process can be used to reduce bumping, since they use cold traps to collect the effluent. In the organic chemistry laboratory, this process is performed by spinning a round bottom flask in a hot
Okay,
water.
so evaporation with like a rotomat, for example.
Good. Your bonus. For 10 points each, answer the following about the architecture of the town of Carcassonne. A large one of these buildings can be found in Carcassonne, built by Viscounts of Trencavel. Like many other structures of its type, it possesses a drawbridge and is surrounded by defensive curtain walls. This French Gothic revivalist architect restored the fortress of Carcassonne. That project led him to write his treatise, Castles and Warfare in the Middle Ages. Carcassonne Cathedral features one of these sections of a religious building divided into 3 parts, a hallmark of the Romanesque style. The narthex is the portion of this structure that often serves as its entrance.
Yeah, I like that.
The native.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, 225, 180.
199.
We got 30.
Oh, yeah. Whoops. Yeah. Vision. 190. Toss up. In a letter, Rainer Maria Rilke wrote that these works are preoccupied with themselves because of their use of white. An early one of these works was rejected by the Salon for using a black background and was painted in the ballsy or coulard manner characteristic of its artist. An unusual one of these works includes a medallion made by the artist's friend Philippe Solari. The Courtauld Institute in London contains one of these paintings depicting a statue of Cupid with no arms that is made out of plaster. In the last years of the artist's life, several of these paintings were created depicting 3 or more skulls stacked on top of each other.
Still expresses up.
Nice.
all they wanted?
Nice.
That's really good.
Thank you.
Here is your bonus. This algorithm basically works by having a process setting a flag, checking to see if another flag is already being used, and spinning until the flag that the process does not use is released. 10 points each. Identify this algorithm, the first known solution to the problem of mutual exclusion in concurrent programming.
Since,
It's called Decker's algorithm. Decker's algorithm guarantees that this state is never reached. In this state, multiple processes are mutually dependent on the completion of one or more of the other processes, leading to none of the processes progressing. Yeah. Decker's algorithm is a forerunner to the first type of this construct, which supports a mutual exclusion across processes, invented by Dijkstra, their name for a system of communication.
semaphore.
Nice.
Can we have a score check?
Absolutely. It's 1 up by 5. 2 questions.
225, 220.
And this is
Okay.
2 questions remaining. Toss up 19. The activities of this organization were reported on by Ambassador Franklin Mott Gunther. Members of this group were instructed that singing songs is the chief manifestation of our state of mind in their textbook, which was called the Nest Leader's Manual. The second leader of this group used the name Joseph Weber to escape under a fake passport and set up a refugee camp. In response to the popularity of this organization, Octavian Goga founded the National Christian Party. After this group's captain was put on trial for illegally organizing underage students and then killed, this group was led by Horia Sima during a period where it executed 60 government officials at Jalaba prison and forced the abdication of Carol II. For 10 points in this paramilitary.
oh, the Iron Guard.
Nice.
Good.
Good buzz.
Good.
Your bonus. These letters were repudiated in the later Oranian-Steen letters, which gave up the stadtholderate and instructed officers to return to government. For 10 points each. Name these letters written by William V, Prince of Orange, in 1795 on behalf of the Dutch state. They're named after the English palace where he resided after the invasion of France.
Okay, what's good English mouth Windsor? Can we say that?
The Q letters were William's call for Dutch officials to refuse to refuse to recognize this republic, proclaimed in 1795, which was governed semi-democratically by the Grand Pensionary Rutger John Schimmelpenninck.
Okay,
Say again?
Octavian.
Yeah.
Good.
Napoleon later wrote to Rutger while living in the Longwood House after being exiled to this island in 1815, where he died of stomach cancer.
Died in St. Helena.
20 points.
Okay, so
All right.
250 to 225?
225, 250.
Yeah.
Final toss-up. In one novel, this character is imagined to rise from the dead, asking his brother, "Why did you let this happen?" This character's death at 2 p.m. inspires his brother to commit a murder years later at 2 a.m. in a novel in which this character is nicknamed Zuch and is said to have lived for 2 hours and died for 70 years, long after his funeral. In that novel, this man is supposedly a resident of Huchu. In another novel, the protagonist states knocking 4 quick times on the door of unhappiness as he unloads bullets into this man's corpse. This character is imagined to be the brother of Harun and named Musa in a 2013 novel by Kamel Daoud.
The Arab that.
Nice.
Okay. Good job, nice.
Good. Wow. Nice.
Solid game.
Your bonus, for 10 points each, answer the following about European romantic literary criticism. August and Friedrich Schlegel founded this literary magazine. Yeah. In England in 1817, this 1817 autobiographical book spread the ideas of Schelling's romanticism to the public with second chapter states. Yes, this man's correspondence with Arkin von Arnim asserts that nature poetry is based on myth, and the poetry can be judged by how faithful was the source material. He published a collection of fairy tales with his brother Wilhelm.
Oh, Grimm, Jakob Grimm. Okay, good game, guys.
Yeah.
All right, 225, 290.
shit. Sorry.
Yep.
Great.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Who we play now?
So I guess let's try to repeat that in the other two.
So I get 1437.
Okay.
Sure.
That's not half the game.
Oh my god. I just fucked up. That's the third time I've met there.
Yeah, like
I've actually done
after
that.
positive 11, I was like, okay, the fold.
Yeah.
They
Just,
were
they
beating
were
themselves
able to
up.
We've been really good at this tournament and digging ourselves out of the hole.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really proud of all of us.
I really should have gotten it because, you know,
But what?
the Vancouver, all weekly Vancouver's all the Georgia Strait. So I should
Yeah,
have
but, yeah, I mean, I was
One of my best friends from high school goes to UVA.
Canadian Islands just fucked me up.
That was a rough. I was on a rough one. I didn't know what they were going.
Also, Ryan Westbrook yet again. I think that's like a 2008 CO bonus. Literally
Like
just wrapped the
peppercorn?
Jimmy Watson thing.
Oh,
Literally
literally.
like a Chicago Open bonus, just copied and pasted into the set.
You gotta know these Yemen Jews.
You gotta know
Yeah,
these-
There
you're
aren't
right.
any anymore, right?
Yeah,
Because they
that's
all
correct.
yeah.
Welcome to
That's
Austin.
like 2 weeks.
Oh, well, that's starting like late 40s.
Yeah, but the very last one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No kidding. It's really interesting. No, that was. Things I know, Worship. Yeah, you're on fire.
Yeah, the only
The,
block and
what's
percent
that
are gone.
reason?
Natural products work is all over that. Yeah, that's supposed to be part of the thesis I have.
No problem.
I think it's supposed to be 60 page. I'm so fun.
I mean, I have to make these. I mean, they're fair. I'm fine too.
Okay.
And I have to write like 20 of those pages while I'm in the middle of North Carolina wilderness.
Yeah, I feel like the wrong decision was going to North Carolina.
There's like no other option. I really want to do this, and it will work out. If, like, the first week will be shit, but that will be all special. Right now.
Well, they're in staff.
That is a mix. That is a mix.
Yeah, I like rice crackers.
Trader Joe's called Oriental.
I
I call it Oriental ice crackers.
My favorite, flavor of Maruchan ramen used to be, like, ramen used to be Oriental flavor, and it no longer exists. That's
Okay,
all I
we
like to tell.
Michigan, what's your
I
record?
just,
AF stands for as fuck. Words as fuck. What else would it stand for?
Yeah, nothing.
Words out of mind.
Birds is fuck.
Excuse me, yeah.
I found that out when we were like my first days of school, and then like got
Should title one of your papers then.
Okay, each of our mottos should be one of these things. So what's
got
to be
this
in
white
class?
voice back there, yeah. I was like, oh,
Brian, you can be class.
Yeah, but I want words as fuck.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
You can be the SC Oh, okay.
Wow.
Cuddling physical touch?
No. Being productive.
Cuddling.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh my god.
Alright, which one are you saying?
Pick your favorite.
Being lazy,
Eating
obviously.
together.
Eating.
Not being classy, dude. Being classy? Alright, fine. You're right. That's fine.
Oh.
Stick with being, it's not being.
Oh yeah. I'm super classy.
Being classy.
Alright.
Nothing's
Why
classy.
is it so boring? I'm disappointed. Just make up a new one for me.
You can't make up one.
Just put a bullet point to the bottom that says Sid.
Making it work.
Parentheses, Sid.
Works
Yeah,
now.
parentheses Sid. There we go.
I hope people notice this.
Sid cop.
Have you been to the archaeology museum?
I think I went when I was in natural history museum.
No, there's an archaeology.
It's archaeology.
It's like right by
Across the
the
street.
How is it?
Right.
I haven't been.
I haven't been.
My flight's not till like 8.
It's alright. It's got some stuff. I haven't been in like years. I don't remember much.
Wait, there's like a, what's the science museum?
The Natural History Museum?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was
Yeah, I guess like
Yeah.
yeah.
museum.
That's what I wanted to do.
We're getting recorded.